He does get a
It would go
Farseer for some extra range here. Oh no, actually he goes for the Vulcans. I guess that is to
to
burn my
the
units.
Vulcans.
I think this is the first moment where he kind of thought, I'm kind of in trouble. I think I'm losing too much health even for Fang Gaming. I need to finish his
Hmm.
Mustangs. And this is the correct call, I think. This is also where I
The
do get a
crawlers.
level on that fort and just shield it because that is just
Mm.
tons of HP.
Yep. 72,000 more hit points for the shield bubble over there. And he's burning up the replicate crawlers that are up front with the Vulcans. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
This positioning was a mistake from him, and we were punishing it with the replicate crawlers. He's now having to answer that with a huge investment, right? 800 cost worth of giants to counter essentially a 250, 350, 450 cost deployment. That is also true. Zalex from chat, one of my moderators, wanted to point out incendiary does not affect shields. So even if he's running incendiary on these, by the time we've got barriers up or the shields that you deployed manually last round, the incendiary does not help burn through the shield quicker. You can't light a shield on fire.
Nope. Also, I think I was pretty lucky to get a high-level Scorpion here because that thing you can see how it just blasted both of these giants and they're basically already dead.
Right. Yeah, the high level Scorpion did a lot of work, but note also SirLimbo passed up a Vulcan. Vulcan is not the answer into Fang-Fort because opponents' forts are just going to delete the Vulcans. Right? They're going to shield, they're going to delete the Vulcan. You have to throw so much tech into the Vulcan to make it work, and you really need to be countering the Fangs and the fort, and your Vulcan's going to get kind of specialized to do one or the other. So here it is with a note that it's not heavily overcommitted to the Mustangs. He's only got 3 of them. The only tech he has on them is range, right? If you're, the next piece up would be HE ammo once he had portable shield. So you want to be doing more damage to more fangs at once to bring the portable shield down quickly. And you might conceivably have wound up with 6 of these instead of 3 of them.
I
But
think it's an important
having
part as the number of fangs escalates to keep the balance with the Mustang so they can kill them quickly enough. That kind of wasn't the case in that previous round, in round 5, on the right side, which means that a lot of Mustangs died in that case. Most of that is probably because of, hey, here's 2 laser-sighted fangs that can actually equal the range of these Mustangs. But at the same time, you can drop down more stuff. But really, it is all about your frontline units lasting. And that Scorpion and the Fortress level 2 just did all the work on that side in round 6. Which is why round 6,
right,
despite the situation of Fang versus Mustang, was actually a bit worse because the other Fangs, I think they leveled that round. It was still working out so much better, not because the Mustangs got stronger, because the front line lasted longer.
right. Our front line lasted. We broke down his front line quicker, and the fact that we weren't getting replicated on it, that our replication wasn't happening out here, was almost irrelevant. Right.
That was more or
Um,
less a really good tempo round that put him on the edge of dying.
yeah. Yeah. The previous round, the tempo edge is the key element there. Um, so Fated to Fail says the old answer to Fang-Fort used to be Boat and Warcrime Vulcan. I mean, there's a build there. um, Again, you're going to light the ground on fire everywhere, and it's part of why the Fang gaming player is going to have some Fangs out here to try and draw some additional fire. So if you drop your Warcrime Vulcan here, it's lighting the flank on fire. If you have some replicate crawlers, they've gone out here, they run through that fire, right? So it's like kind of make it work against the player. And then shin guns to break the shields and light everything on fire. Yeah, it's a build. It wasn't one. I think that's basically a giant specialist build because that predated the
Probably,
bear
yeah.
like drops. Yeah, that might have been a very specific giant specialist unit because at this point you're talking about two different giant unlocks, multiple giants, and at least three giant techs, right? In the chin gun, and the other two. If you've made it that deep into the game, there's other answers that would have also answered Fang-Fort earlier.
I do like the approach with Mustangs for multiple reasons. First of all, what's he gonna do in the flank that can kill me? These Mustangs, even if he drops a fort there, the Mustangs and the crawlers here will kill the fort on the round that it comes in, and on the next round I can do something to counter it. He can't push
Right.
with
Your own
overlords,
fort
he
out there.
can't go with phoenixes. My flanks are basically tight and packed, and there's nothing really that he can do there. Even dropping fangs on the sideline would be a waste for him because he's constantly going to get replicated upon. So that's a big no-no. On the
Right.
other hand, his flanks, they aren't that tightly packed. You go drop something like a Vulcan there, that thing can actually get a tower, though it is, of course, a big investment. I think carry fangs are a good unit to hold your flank, just as range Mustangs are, with some crawlers in front of them. But
Right.
it simply is very safe. And I think the ideal unit you want to add on, if you can get a drop, is actually the Scorpion, simply because the Scorpion has so much friggin' burst damage that is going to absolutely shred the fortress shields unless the fortresses massively outlevel the Scorpions. And at the same time, the advantage of Scorpion double shot is it doesn't cost any range. The Scorpions are always going to have enough range to outrange fortresses, ideally. And even if the opponent gets shields on Fangs, the double shot is just still going to evaporate the entire pack of Fangs. And once your Scorpions hit the critical mass, where they basically annihilate the entire front line in two volleys, it's just over.
Right.
And any single
Yeah. Very
packs that get left over, the Mustangs are going to shred them. And at the same time, if the opponent tries to go into a lot of Phoenixes or something like that, the Mustangs are still going to shred them.
right. And notice we got a lot of value out of the saber tooths for much the same reason. On the left, we've got the level 2 saber. This was our OG, saber tooth specialist saber from round 2. And in the 090 patch, double shot only costs 100. So it was almost a throwaway tech for SirLimbo, but it's turned into a big, it's doing 2400 damage to 3600 damage worth of shields. So this shield comes almost all the way down on the first volley. Second volley is at 3.4 seconds. And here's how powerful Sabertooth Specialist is, right? This saber, even into a board that is not a classic, this is what you would choose to throw Sabertooth down against this board, right? This saber is still our silver damage dealer, our second best damage dealer over the course of the game. So it's really interesting to me how strong Sabertooth Specialist is. Like Alpha Titan was saying, most of his Sabertooth, the OG Sabertooth, shows up as one of the either his gold or silver damage dealer for the game. So
I think double shot right now is a bit unbalanced in the sense that it's just way too cheap. I think this needs to go
yeah,
literally up to like 250 or 300 at least.
yeah, it should be on par with other things that double damage, essentially like Fort Rapid Reload, if neither of you are running it. Um, Obviously, Scorching Flames. I still think Scorching Flames should come down to like a 75% increase and go up in price. And then this would be probably priced similarly. But we'll see.
Yeah. I definitely think that this shows how you can beat Fang Fortress. I think the key element is once you sniff it out, you should definitely throw down some Mustangs so that you have something that reliably kills all of the Fangs in the early game and in the late game. And then you go into a unit that does heavy damage, such as Fortress, Scorpion, Sabertooth probably also works well, and that can hold the front line. This way, you build an army that is designed to counter your opponent's army, and it should be fairly difficult for your opponent to deal with that because Mustangs are going to be pretty good into the board unless it's literally on fire all the time. But at the same time, the opponent would have to switch out of the Fang build, out of the Fortress build, and go for a different plan. In this case, my
Right.
opponent did not do anything other than traditional Fang Fortress until the Vulcans dropped. And the Vulcans did not have the impact that they needed. I think the positioning here is pretty poor, simply because they don't counter many packs when they're sitting this far on the sideline. All the crawlers in the middle are still getting in. If he had put them a bit more centrally, I think it would have turned out a bit better, but I still wouldn't have liked his chances. The problem is simply
Yeah.
that he was trying to force a build into somebody who knows how to counter it, so it didn't work out for a single round for him in this case. In a real game,
Right.
what you can expect is to drop some rounds as you experiment with it, as you're trying to learn it, and as you are simply like you get hit with a Phoenix Frank or something like that. But with that's once again why I like the Mustangs here. With Mustangs on the flank, I don't think a Phoenix flank is going to have much success. You might get crawler
Yeah.
pulled or something, but even that isn't the end of the world. You just drop some additional Mustangs in the middle and you're safe again.
Right. And this, I particularly like this game as a teaching game because you've literally got the five solutions, all five of them. Replicate Crawler for fangs that are right on the line, Mustangs for the damage dealing against the rest of the fangs, Fort for Bubble to protect your Mustangs, Fort for single target damage against the Fort, the double shot Saber to break shields, and the Scorpion to break shields. The only other piece that we would expect to see is if you're going to wind up in a Melter v Fortress. So Melter, if you had that instead of these,
Yeah,
Melter throwing out EMP barrage and with range, of course, should beat the Fortress barrier. So
there's only so much you can do in 6 rounds. Nah, I think
you
this
couldn't
is
come up with the perfect example
yeah.
just for teaching purposes. Gosh.
I think this is going to have to do, but I think it shows. Like from what I've seen or from what I've heard, a lot of people are struggling with this. So I hope this helps a lot of people deal with this sort of aggro. Because if you don't know how to counter it, I can absolutely see how it looks oppressive and really powerful. But if you know how to counter it, and even better so, if you know the opponent is going to go for that, you can start countering it from round one. It should be an absolute free win if they are this stubborn into going this strategy.
Yep. Right. Thank you. That was SirLimbo. I'm Amarok81. Appreciate you guys tuning in.
Until next time.